You mentioned that you learned many things yourself, and one of the things that you learned, I guess, is cover design. Can you talk a bit about that process?
I love cover design. It is something I didn't think I would really be into, but I started making my own book covers right from the beginning. I talked about learning about things I should have learned beforehand, but now I've gotten to the point where I'm taking on clients to do book covers because I learned a skill over the last few years that I started doing for myself, but it developed into this paying gig on several occasions. So I wrote a post about it on my blog, how to create an awesome book cover. It's really simple. It talks about the concepts as opposed to the technicalities. I don't talk a lot about the technical side of it because, number one, it's boring. Number two, if you want to design your own book covers or book covers for somebody else, you've got to learn the program that you're going to be using. So I use Photoshop. You're going to have to spend a couple of weeks at least learning the very basics of it. So there's a few things that would be helpful to keep in mind if you wanted to create your own book cover. Number one, make sure it looks like the covers in your genre. If you're writing military sci-fi, then you want your cover to look like it belongs in that genre. That means use the fonts that you see on the covers of other military sci-fi. You can easily go onto Amazon, go into that genre and subgenre, and look at the covers. And if your cover, when you're done with it, looks like it belongs on that page, then you did something right. From the font to the colors, schemes, placement of your name, your author name, and placement of the title, make it look like it belongs in that genre. Because sometimes there are books that have different covers that still break out. But it's like, actually, I heard a good analogy when I was listening to Six Figure Author podcast. You could invest in day trading. You could be a day trader, right? And that is investing in what you think is hot and what's going to stand out in that moment. That's having the cover that stands out on Amazon's top 100 bestsellers list or whatever. Or you could invest in the index fund, and that is equivalent to having a book that fits in to your genre, and you could get a sustainable income. You don't want to have like flowy fonts if it is a military book because it's jarring. And if it doesn't look like it belongs there, readers are not going to buy it. They're not going to pick it up because it's not what they're looking for. And that's important too when you think about both writing and your cover design is the tropes. People expect tropes. Some of us read like all kinds of different stuff. I read a lot of different stuff. My favorite thing to read is epic fantasy. There are certain covers. If it doesn't look like it's an epic fantasy book and I'm looking for epic fantasy, I'm not going to read it because it's not scratching the itch.